today I get to interview Molly. And she is on, so I'm going to invite her. Welcome, welcome. Say hello when you pop on. And maybe tell us where you're joining from. It's morning, early morning in Asia.
Okay. Hey,
Hi,
Carrie.
Molly. How are
Hi.
you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy
I'm
to
so
talk to you.
I'm so impressed this is working.
Have
This
you
is
done
my
a Have you done a live before?
not around the world.
No, and
No,
not
this is
not
amazing.
cool. Yeah, it's super
Very cool.
easy.
Yeah.
I I just love Instagram. It's my preferred
Yeah.
method. Yay, and Jess just interviewed Jess and now she's on. This is so fun.
Awesome. And we both have art in the background.
Hey, we
Look at
do.
that.
Are you at
Nice little
home? Is
background.
that your
I
beautiful
am
home?
home.
Yeah,
This
I
is
love
my
it.
home. That's actually a painting that I borrowed from my parents. I was like, that would go nicely in our house, so let me borrow it.
There you go. Now it's
Yeah,
yours.
yeah,
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
welcome. Thanks for
Thank you
joining.
so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we've got lots of friends on watching. So
yeah,
why don't you tell us a little bit about you? Introduce yourself.
sure, sure. So I'm Molly. My full name is Molly Drury. I started my website Gluten Free Mollie D in 27 end of 20 May of 2017, so almost 2 years ago, which was started based on my celiac diagnosis, which was in January of 2013. So we're closing in on a little over 6 years now, and that kind of started the whole thing. It was a whirlwind from then to now, I'd say. The diagnosis came after some pretty intense bouts of vertigo, which kind of
Mm.
prompted me to go to my doctor. And I said, "This isn't normal. Like, this has never happened to me before. Vertigo, like, very tired, just some things that weren't common for me." So I went, and she said, kind of helped with the vertigo, but she said, "While you're here, let's just do a routine blood test." And I said, "Sure, whatever." And then she called. I left, no question. Kind of worked on whatever she said for the vertigo, and then 3 days later, she called me on a Saturday morning as I was eating Cheerios, and she said, "Stop what you're doing. You have to stop eating gluten." And I said, "What's that? What is going on?" And that's how the whole thing started. And that kind of, I threw the Cheerios in the trash, and off we went. We basically had to clean our apartment top to bottom. I think we threw out every wooden cutting board and wooden spoon we ever owned, and we kind of went into this like deep dive of research and kind of faced the thing head on and said, "This isn't going to stop life. This is going to restart in a way." So we learned a lot. I'd say from that moment, my crazy cookbook collecting went into full force. And I bought a bunch of books on celiac disease, and really just, I was determined to not let it have any negative effect on my life. I knew that it was a blessing in disguise and that this would fix how I'd been feeling. I've been feeling so bad and so tired and so just ugh, that it was time to make a positive change out of this. And I'd say within maybe 3 weeks of going completely gluten free, I had more energy than I'd had in years, and I felt better. I looked healthier, and it was kind of this new positive journey where I was like, "This is great." Like, if anyone else is having these issues, maybe you should get tested because I've never felt so good in my life. Like I said to a friend, I felt like I could run a marathon without sleeping. That's like how energetic I was. It was crazy how night and day everything turned in like a few weeks. So then,
Yeah.
yeah, it was good. So then a few years into it, I started kind of taking pictures of our food just kind of for the fun of it, and slowly but surely I learned about tagging, and because Instagram started being a thing and getting more involved in that, and I said, what's great about eating gluten free is that it's not that hard. I'd say what the things you had to cut out and replace were far fewer than what you were gaining, what you can eat really. So my website kind of came about of saying, we're cooking gluten free every night. We want to share how easy it is and how great everything can still taste. You're not going to miss out just because you have to be gluten free.
I love that. So,
Yeah.
were you with Seth when you got diagnosed?
I was. That's my husband, he's on the couch with our cat over there. Yeah, we had been together for already 2 years at that point, and I had never really had any major negative effects from not noticeable negative effects from eating it up until that point, and then all of a sudden kind of everything happened at once, and I said, this isn't good. And he has been incredibly supportive. We have a 100% gluten-free household. Our current apartment has never had any gluten in it ever. He does drink beer, but it's very good to keep it contained. But he's been incredibly supportive, and he would never risk anything like that being in our home.
I love
So
that.
we got married in 2016, and we had a 100% gluten-free wedding. So that is
Awesome.
totally possible too. If anybody is trying to plan that, I know Jess is getting married
In 4 days.
in 4 days. Oh my gosh! So that's amazing, and it's gonna be beautiful and delicious, I bet. So
Yes.
I think my general outlook on all of this is saying you're not going to miss out just because you have to be gluten free. I'd say there's more positives than negatives, and whenever anyone seems to give you that, like, oh, it's so hard, how come you have to be like this? I'm like, one, it's for my health, so good, and I don't feel like I'm missing anything. There's nothing I feel like I'm being deprived of, and I just feel so much better. So why would you ever risk anything that has your health involved?
I completely agree. It's honestly been a theme of like everyone I've interviewed, which is why I just
Yeah,
feel so blessed and love my
yeah,
life because I'm like, there's just such an awesome community of positive people that are so excited to
yeah,
say, okay, here's the challenge. Here's how we flip it. It could be so much worse, right? Like
yeah.
this
Oh, totally.
autoimmune disease you can control with diet.
Yeah,
Whereas like so many
what
other things like you
right.
can't. And so
And
it's
honestly, what could
awesome.
be easier? What could be easier than no medication? Your medication is food, which all you have to do is go to the grocery store and clean. And I mean, it's almost like a diet. I don't like to use that word, but I'd say a lifestyle for people who want to eat clean anyway. Like I'd say I eat even healthier now than we did before because we try to minimize processed foods. When we do have packaged gluten-free food, I'm really careful about the brands we buy and about I look at ingredients far more carefully now than I ever did before, and I say it's an excuse to take care of yourself in a whole new way and be mindful of what you're eating, when you're eating it, and staying healthy. I'd say we both exercise regularly and make that a priority every day, but also we know how to have fun. Like we go out on the weekends, and you kind of have to work that in. I'd say part of what I try to include on my recaps every week, every Tuesday, is that I say where we go out to eat, and those places are always places that we do repeats a lot, but we only go places where I feel safe to eat. And thanks to your guide and so many other people's travel guides out there, that I would never hesitate to go beyond Boston and Massachusetts to eat gluten free either. We don't travel a lot. Work and life is busy, but when we do, I know that I'm never worried about finding somewhere safe to eat ever.
No, that's the thing. So
Yeah.
Ashley said first before we talk about that, I want to say
Yeah.
and prop to your food. Ashley said your meals are so gorgeous.
Oh,
If you don't follow Molly, seriously, her photography and food is amazing,
thank you.
amazing. So
Thank you.
I love seeing all your beautiful
Oh,
plates of what you guys
thank you.
eat. Yeah,
It is it's beautiful for about a minute, and then we
that's okay. It's
that
okay.
is truly my plate of food. We eat about 2 minutes after that picture is taken, and it never looks that nice again. I've always been tempted to like show an after picture of like the no leftovers that are ever around, but it just would be kind of a blank, empty plate, or all the dishes that kind of show up in the sink.
It
Our cat
happens.
used to try to steal our food too.
Okay, so here's a cat question because I'm not a pet
Yeah,
owner, and I found so I've been doing this series right on celiac this month,
yeah,
both the interviews and then also
yeah.
posting, and so it's just been like really cool to have some conversations that I feel like I don't have because, for example, I don't have pets. So do you have to read all your ingredients with
Yes.
your labeling for
Yep.
food? Yeah.
Yeah. We our cat is on a totally gluten free diet. When she's on special food anyway because she's kind of old. But when we were learned that she had to be on this special food, we made sure we were buying the gluten-free version. So if I touch her food, it's safe. And
That
same, before she was on this special food she is now, the one before that was also gluten-free.
I love that. Like somebody
Yeah.
commented on that on a post about their dog. Like they couldn't figure out why they were getting sick, and then finally they
Yeah.
figured out their dog was eating food with gluten in
Yeah.
it, and then licking
Definitely.
her. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
ah,
I know. It's something that you don't necessarily think to worry about, but we did. And now she's safe. And when she has a tendency to lick me, it's okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and she sleeps like on me too, so it's always safe.
It's so
Yeah,
fascinating. All the little things, like
definitely.
I was talking to Coral of Serving Celiacs yesterday, and she has
Yeah.
these
Oh, I
really
watched that.
good.
It's
Well,
great.
yeah, so she's like super helpful, especially with kids, because like I don't have kids.
Yes.
And so she has these
Yep.
little
Me neither.
cards. But the thing that she was talking about that I loved is like how she preps the babysitter,
Oh, that's yeah, definitely. Yeah, that
like
and that's something
coming
that
into
like
your
you wouldn't
house.
think of until that's in the situation. And I remember I did a little babysitting when I was younger, and at the time there wasn't anything like that happening, but it would be very helpful. Like prepare them for what's to come. Also, if you don't want them to bring food into your home,
Yes.
you gotta make an alert. I'd say one of I don't like to put I don't like to bring out the negative aspects often ever about gluten free and celiac because I just personally choose to think on the positive. But when we do go to friends' houses or we go to a work event or something, I prepare. I eat a lot before we leave, or I have a snack with me, or I know that we're going to eat afterwards. It's just kind of a mentality you embrace and you keep steady. Like we've had work events where I haven't been able to eat anything, and it's not my favorite moment, but you get used to it. And I'd say on the whole, it could be worse.
Absolutely.
So you just kind of grin and bear it. It's a brief moment in time, and you can go home and have dinner or go out afterwards. It's not too big a deal to me.
So, what are your top tips of how you prepare, like when you have an evening where you're not sure what's going to happen?
So the most recent example, we had a trivia night in my office a few weeks ago, and there was an it was advertised as being like light snacks and wine and beer, and I was like, I will not be able to eat anything, and for whatever that reason that day, I was like, man, I'm not gonna have any wine. I think I had been sick or something, so that day I had like my regular food at work. I had a bigger lunch, and then I knew the event was at 5, so at 4 I had a big snack. I had I'd brought extra food with me to work, ate a bunch at 4 o'clock, and knew that from 5 to 7 I was kind of out of commission. Like I couldn't touch anything. I was just there, and I brought pretzels with me and ate them during the event too, or gluten-free pretzels during the event.
Yep.
And I mean, no one questioned it. No one commented. My coworkers know that I have celiac. They don't really blink an eye at this point. However, whenever I bring cookies to my office, one person always asks, they're like, "Is this gluten free?" I'm like, "Yes, it always will be gluten free." And they're like, "No way!" I'm like,
I know.
"Yes,
I'm always amazed.
yeah,
I had an ex-boyfriend who I made like we were having a party for him, and I made this cookie cake. And one of my good friends was about to hand out slices of it, and then she looks at me, and she's gluten-free too, and she looks at me and is like, "Wait, is this gluten-free?" I'm like, "Do you know me? Yes, there's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
no way in
yeah,
the world
yeah,
that I
yeah."
made something with gluten. I don't have gluten in my kitchen. Like
Right,
everyone will
right,
eat gluten free. It's fine. They won't know. Just
yeah,
don't tell them."
exactly. And that's my favorite part. Someone said to me, "Oh, I thought this was going to be gross because it was gluten free," and I was like, that mentality is the problem because there's no excuse for it to taste. There's no reason it'll taste bad unless you don't cook it properly or you don't bake it enough or whatever. Like it's more of a skill level at that point than the
Yeah.
thing. Like I think that's what I've really loved about the baking part is to kind of prove to people it'll be great. It'll be delicious. Like I've made cookies and my husband takes them to work and people say, "No way, this isn't gluten free." It is, and it always will be. So just enjoy it. And a cookie's a cookie to me. Like, I don't even. So that's kind of why I don't necessarily say this is a gluten-free cookie. I say this is a cookie because to
Yeah.
me, it's a cookie. What else is it going to be? Yeah.
Exactly. Someone just said they made amazing gluten-free pancakes. Yes, I mean the thing
Yum.
is like
Good.
there's
Go for it.
so many options now, right?
Yeah.
Especially with like almond flour, coconut flour,
Definitely.
cassava, like all the different
Yep.
options now that are so
Definitely.
versatile and that are naturally gluten-free.
And that's a big thing for me. Naturally gluten-free meals, ingredients. It's amazing what people will assume they can't have because they'll say, "Oh, there's probably gluten in it." Nope. Nope. Something I love sharing every week when we go through all the meals is that I'd say 90% of the recipes we pick are naturally gluten free without even trying to be. Like, I'll just pick them and I say, oh, that looks great to cook for Tuesday. And it'll already be gluten free. We won't have to change a single ingredient. And that's just out in the world. It's not in a special website, and it's not in a special cookbook. It's just there. And I think what would be awesome in the future is if more mainstream media could start making notes of that and saying this recipe is naturally gluten free, just FYI. I think that would be kind of a cool element in the world to kind of make gluten free less of a diet and more of just it is. It is what
Ag-
it is. If you need it to be gluten free, it is. If you don't, whatever. It just like a salad. It, it seems stupid to label it, but surprise, surprise, most already are.
Yeah. Well, and I think at least for me, that's why I like Whole 30. I feel like
Yeah,
has kind of leveled the playing field a little bit. I mean,
yeah,
I still think people probably have some negative connotations with it,
yeah.
which I mean, I think don't knock it till you try it is my
Right.
thing.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
I loved doing it. It wasn't that hard for me because I do eat
Yep.
pretty clean to begin with.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, but I like stuff like that that's blown up so much and that
Mm-hmm.
people can go, oh, this isn't actually that hard. There's so many
Right.
things that are
Yeah.
already like Whole 30 compliant.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and I think that's what always shocks people that friends or family that aren't as familiar with what we're doing. They'll say, "Oh, I didn't know you could have that." Yes, like my favorite moments are when someone at work said to me, "Are potatoes gluten free?"
Yeah.
And I said, "It's a potato. Why not?" It's not. It's the thing itself is good to go. It's more in the preparation and the it's not sitting in a bag of flour. We're good to go. Obviously, like cross contamination here, it's a whole other issue.
Sure.
But the food itself, natural whole foods, are gluten free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you love to cook before your diagnosis?
No.
Okay.
No. No. I still don't really like to. Seth,
Uh,
my husband, is the cook in our home.
okay.
He does all of the cooking. I do all of the research, all of the planning, photography, and writing. He does the cooking. Oh, and I do all the baking. That's a separate thing. I do the baking, but he is the cook. He is very very patient and is graciously takes on that role. I'm not a big fan of cooking. I love discussing food and talking about ingredients and researching, but the process of cooking not my favorite. I kind of move away from the kitchen while he makes dinner, and kind of like set the table, get the camera ready. um, that's definitely his moment to shine. And his cooking skills, I'm looking this way because he's over there. He's like a few feet away, like listening. His cooking skills have skyrocketed in the last few years when we've been doing this. We used to make frozen everything, and now we're making everything from scratch, never frozen, always fresh, all natural, everything organic when we can. And I'm really proud of him. And when we got married, I joked that I was going to learn to bake. I was like, if you do all the cooking, my role here will be the baking. And so about a year and a half ago, I started, and I said, okay, one project a month, gluten-free baking. Let's see how it goes. And it's fun. I really really love the precision and the science behind baking and how you have to measure everything really carefully. And like I study it a lot, and I'm really careful about double checking measurements and all that. And I have grown to really love the baking side of things. So I wish I could do that more.
Yeah. Well, I think, okay, so that's a number of good things for people to hear. Like, one of the things you've really learned is paying attention to ingredients,
Yep.
and it's made you healthier as a result
Yes.
of, going
Definitely.
gluten free, which I love seeing in people because, like it is a disease you can manage with your diet, but you also have to be
Hmm.
careful still, right? You can like eat all
Yep.
the gluten free stuff and be eating like crap.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And definitely, I think that we learn. I learned the hard way that as soon as I was gluten free and my body was processing nutrients and everything it was supposed to be properly, my weight kind of went on a like big up and down for a couple of years, and you had to I had to relearn how to eat properly and healthy, because now that I was absorbing food the way everybody should be, my weight did it learned how to do its own thing, and you have to relearn how to exercise for that and how to eat accordingly. And you can't live on gluten-free cookies. It'll have the same effect as if you were eating regular cookies, but that's a whole other debate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's that whole saying, which I don't know where I first heard it, but I feel like people talk about it,
Yeah.
but should talk about it more. But it's like shop the exterior of the grocery store, right? Like
Yeah.
shop
Yeah.
the peripheral. So like that's
Yep.
generally where all the fruits and veggies are, all the
Yeah.
things on the outside of your
Definitely.
grocery store.
Yeah.
And those are going to be your things that are 99% of the time just going to be gluten free to begin with because it's
Yep.
natural whole foods.
Yep. Definitely. I'd say we the biggest difference in our pantry these days is that there's little to no junk food. I'd say there are moments when we're like, oh, we really want like chips and salsa or whatever, and we get it. But I'd say we don't continually buy those every week. We kind of keep them more as treat things. And of course, when I bake, there's cookies around or something. But I'd say more often than not, there's no excess stuff around, and it's hard, but it's definitely healthier overall, and it makes us feel better in the long run.
Well, and that's, I think, the thing, right? Like you feel better.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. You learn quickly that even if you love I think, I guess my issue these days is that there's a lot of gluten-free food promoted. Yeah, Cheetos are another
Totally.
discussion. Secret favorite food on earth. We'll keep those. That's like a birthday treat every year. um, I'd say my frustration is when a lot of processed gluten-free foods are really promoted, but at the end of the day, it's a lot healthier to keep those to a minimum. Like, whether you need to be gluten-free or not, the more processed food you eat, it's just not as good for you. There's a lot of extra stuff in it. When we do buy gluten-free packaged goods, I really look at the ingredients. I try to keep those to a minimum, organic when we can, and just avoid them most of the time.
Yeah, I
But I mean, agreed. I'm not the picture of health. I'm not saying that we're the most healthy people on earth. We're not at all.
no, I'm not either. I mean, I eat I'd say 80 to 90% of the time pretty clean, but
Yep.
I love treats like
Yep.
absolutely. Um but I think it teaches you to read ingredients because you have to,
Yeah.
right? Like you just
Definitely.
have to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd say that is one of the bigger things we've learned over the years is reading ingredients on everything, like from condiments to cookies, pre-made mixes, chips, all that stuff. Like, I loved seeing that so much of it exists, because I think it's super helpful that if you need a quick snack, there are tons of options out there, but you have to still be careful, and you have to look at what's in these quick snacks, because sometimes it's a lot of filler and it's a lot of stuff that you wouldn't want to eat no matter what.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I personally, I mean, I miss them because I can't get them, but I love a lot of the brands like Simple Mills, Lara
Yep.
Bars,
Yep.
all the ones that are like good natural
Yep.
ingredients and that are filling
Yep.
that void, right? Like
Definitely.
you can have those on the go and still feel really good about what you're eating.
Definitely. Yeah, the Simple Mills crackers are delicious. Let us know if you want us to send you some.
You're so
They're
sweet.
so good. That is a good snack that she's mentioning. Chocolate
Oh,
chips and nut butter. Yeah.
oh my
The
gosh,
Simple
yes.
Mills products I love. I've recently gotten into Quinn's. I think they're
Mm,
organic pretzels.
don't know them.
I think so. They come in like pretzel shape and also like a rye pretzel rod. Those are delicious, and the main ingredient is sorghum flour.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're certified gluten free. They're delicious. If
Okay.
anybody is interested in them, um, I'm side note on that. I'm trying to launch a special section on my website that has all the products we buy, so that people can not just recipes, but like our favorite olive oil, our favorite crackers, our favorite tools for like cooking, baking, and just general grocery. That's
Yeah.
coming soon.
That's awesome
Um,
and would be
yeah,
super helpful because I know some people have really good stores like that on their website and I think it's great,
yeah,
especially maybe people who don't love to cook, who are
yeah,
new to cooking, who are
yep,
overwhelmed by it.
yep,
Like that would be
yeah.
great.
Yeah, that's coming soon. I know I've been saying that for like several weeks now, but sometimes life gets busy. But that is coming soon. Um, oh, someone else made a good suggestion too. Um,
Allergic to
so that
corn.
market thing that I'm creating is coming up. These sound really good. But I guess at the end of the day, what we're always trying to prove, not prove, like encourage, is that cooking at home, gluten free, is not hard, and you can have whatever dish you're craving in a restaurant or wherever. You can make it at home. You can make it probably healthier than you would at a restaurant, and you're not going to miss out by having to cook gluten free. Like you won't miss anything.
Yeah, I love that. And you guys do such a good job of helping people with that and showing the gorgeous meals, even if you eat it 2 seconds after. But seriously, like, I don't think anyone would look at your feed and be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss out on food. Like, you look at it and you're
Yeah.
starving and you're like, I want to eat all of that.
So that's always our goal. Whenever people are like, "You make your feed makes us hungry," I'm like, "Good, like it should." I'm not trying to. I think what I grapple with in terms of the social media stuff is that there are so many people out there showing the incredible variety of foods you can buy, like at restaurants, grocery stores, everywhere. The gluten-free world has really exploded, and I think that's so awesome. But at the end of the day, for my life, and probably a lot more people than really say, they are cooking every night. Like they're not. No one's going out to dinner 7 nights a week, at least that I know. And so when it comes down to it, every night it's still possible to eat really well, eat something yummy, and sometimes indulgent at home. Whereas I don't stress places we go as much as what we do at home, because I think in real life, our real life, this is it. Like I'm not. I never I never post anything where we haven't eaten, basically.
Yeah, I love that. And it really helps people to see like what's possible for them. I
Yeah,
think like that's always the lens I try to see everything in social media through is like if it's possible for someone else, it's possible for you. So
definitely. Yeah,
maybe that means you need to get a little more organized. You need to figure out how to grocery shop once a week. You need to
yeah,
figure out, how to meal prep, like whatever that looks
yeah.
like for
Definitely,
you.
definitely. And I think over time, things that I'm always happy to talk to anyone about is how we pick our meals, how we came to eventually planning on Sunday mornings and grocery shopping on Sundays only, because the weeks are really busy. We don't have time to grocery shop after work. It's just not feasible for us. So I we kind of it took a while, but we've gotten to the point where it's like it's very much routine on Sunday mornings. We plan the meals, then we grocery shop, and we still have plenty of time left that day to do something fun and relax and not worry about it. So
Yeah.
that during the week, work is we both work full time, and we go to the gym every day after work. So that by the time we're home and time to cook, it's about 7:30, and this kind of it's that routine. The weekday routines are really structured for us so that we can fit in cooking the way we do. But if people want more, if anyone ever wants more ideas that are not necessarily quite as involved, I'm always happy to talk about that. Even tonight, we made coming up. something that's much simpler, super basic. We made it in the slow cooker, so it cooked all day, so that we ate before we talked, and it was
Nice.
already out of the way. Yeah. I never want anyone to feel intimidated or scared that they can't cook the way we are. If you don't have that kind of time to cook, don't worry. Like, there are a billion ways to eat dinner, and there's a billion recipes out there that will help you eat well, whether you have 5 minutes or an hour to do prep and eat and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's
Gluten
great.
free.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, always gluten free. uh,
So, where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram at Gluten Free Mollie D, Molly with an IE and D. My website is glutenfreemollyd.com. We're on Facebook with the same handle. Twitter, which I'm not that great at using, but I'm on
Either.
Twitter. I think it's gluten free MD with an underscore. Yeah, I think just Google it, me. I think it just comes up. I'm not the greatest with Twitter. I try to just post what I post on the website. I update Facebook pretty regularly. My website has new recaps and new articles at least twice a week at this point. We just did a redesign of the site that came out a couple weeks ago. It's all new. And sign up for the newsletter. You get kind of fun stuff from me a couple times a week, and I'm always around. I love talking about food and eating gluten free, but just eating. Like, I think food is such a fun topic for people. It makes people happy. It makes people more excited about life, and that's what we're about. We're about being happy and eating well.
I love that. Well, thanks for joining me. This was
Thank
so
you so much,
fun.
Carrie. Yeah.
So happy to chat. So, everyone, go check out Molly's feed. Seriously gorgeous photos of all of the food, and check out her amazing recipes and bakes too. The baking.
Yep. So
Yeah.
new baking. Baking used to be once a month. It's gotten a little less than that. But there's always something new coming up, and I'm so happy to be here and help you with your awesome stuff. And as soon as I start my globe trotting plan, I'm gonna download your book and off we go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Molly. I hope
Thank
you
you
guys
so
have a
much.
good night.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. I will. Talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye.
Bye.